Have you ever wondered why people start treating you differently the moment they think you're poor? Not when you actually lose money, but when you look like you did. The smiles fade, the respect thins. Suddenly you're invisible in rooms that once welcomed you. This isn't imagination, it's human nature. Society is built to worship appearance, not reality. And the moment you appear to fall behind, the world stops listening. That's the quiet cruelty no one admits. It doesn't matter how smart, disciplined, or ambitious you are. If you look broke, people stop taking you seriously. Opportunities vanish. Conversations shift. Even your closest allies start doubting your worth. You could be one decision away from greatness, but if your image screams scarcity, no one will believe in your potential long enough to see it. The world only invests in those who seem unbreakable. And that's the first trap, the illusion that wealth is about what you own. It's not. Wealth begins with how you're perceived. The powerful understand this instinctively. They know that power is not just possession, it's projection. They guard their image like they guard their fortune, because once the world senses weakness, it starts negotiating your value down. But what most don't realize is that there's something far more dangerous than looking poor. It's the hidden cost of exposure. When your hunger for validation makes you show too much, talk too loudly, or display what you can't yet protect. That's when envy sharpens its knives. That's when attention becomes a weapon. And that's where most lose everything before they even understand the game. In this world, to be seen too clearly is to be hunted. To be invisible is to be free. The loud lose their peace, the quiet multiply theirs. What you'll learn now is not how to look rich, but how to build so silently that the world mistakes your stillness for weakness, until it's too late to stop you. Because the truth is simple. The richest power is the one no one sees coming. Let's begin with the first principle, the law of invisibility. Why being unseen is not weakness, but the richest lever of all. Have you ever wondered why the loudest man in the room always ends up the poorest? The world worships attention, yet attention is the most expensive thing you can ever buy. Every post, every boast, every glittering display you make in the public square is a silent invitation to the predators who feed on visibility. The rich man who flaunts his fortune believes he is admired. In truth, he is being measured by rivals, by regulators, by parasites disguised as friends. The more eyes he attracts, the more hands reach for his pockets. The more he shines, the more shadows he creates around him. To survive in an age of exposure, wealth must not only be built, it must be hidden. We live in the attention economy, and in this economy, attention is a tax. The moment you draw it, you pay in privacy, peace, and power. You can observe it everywhere. The influencer who earns millions but burns through it all to maintain an image. The entrepreneur who confuses visibility with growth. The family that buys luxury to prove status, yet loses control of the very finances they wanted to impress others with. The illusion of wealth consumes more capital than poverty ever could. Most people spend their lives trying to look rich, and in doing so, they sabotage the quiet accumulation that could have made them truly so. They confuse applause with security, and end up trading power for validation. The psychology behind this is simple. Scarcity loves spectacle. The mind that feels small seeks recognition. The mind that feels abundant seeks silence. When a man displays his riches, he signals insecurity. He is trying to convince the world of what he himself doubts. True wealth is invisible because it no longer needs to prove itself. It operates like a shadow empire, silent, disciplined, exact. The public man needs followers, the wealthy man needs none. The first rule of power, therefore, is restraint. To build anything that lasts, your movements must be seen less than your results. Your ambition must be heard less than your silence. Consider the heirs who inherited great kingdoms, yet fell to the vanity of exposure. The son who inherited his father's business and turned it into a brand of self-worship, plastering his face on every magazine cover, until his competitors studied his habits, his suppliers learned his weaknesses, and his empire was dismantled piece by piece. The founder who made his company famous but forgot that fame turns private enterprise into public property. By the time his stock went public, he no longer owned his own creation. Every story of downfall begins with the same mistake, mistaking recognition for control. Invisibility, on the other hand, is control refined into art. It is not hiding, it is directing where the light falls. If you wish to rise above the noise, you must understand this. In the modern arena, the poor man is not the one without money, but the one who cannot be unseen. Every photo of your car, every whispered brag about your income, every public hint of your success, all of it feeds the world's hunger for targets. The more they know, the more they demand. Family begins to count your blessings like their own. Strangers feel entitled to your time. Governments smell taxable potential. Competitors analyze your lifestyle and estimate your margins. Soon, your fortune stops serving you. It begins serving your audience. You become a character in their theater, and the price of keeping their attention is the slow erosion of your sovereignty. To reclaim that sovereignty, you must reverse your conditioning. You must shift from performing success to engineering it. It begins with discipline, invisible discipline, the kind that does not announce progress, that keeps records privately, that allows your capital to grow beneath layers of quiet. Wake up, track your income, but never boast your earnings. Dress with precision, not extravagance. Speak with restraint, not silence. Post rarely, think often. Let others display their desires like open ledgers. You will be the one quietly auditing your life while they seek applause for theirs. Your goal is not to be seen as wealthy. It is to be impossible to estimate. The true masters of wealth live among you unnoticed. They drive unremarkable cars, dine without spectacle, and disappear from the crowd before it notices their presence. Yet behind their anonymity lies immense leverage, investments that compound unseen, ownership that operates through others, decisions that ripple across industries without a trace of their hand. You will never find them bragging because they understand the fatal equation. Every ounce of attention reduces your return on peace. Every moment spent defending your image is a moment stolen from the building of your empire. They appear modest because modesty is the best disguise for magnitude. And this is the paradox that few will ever grasp. To gain everything, you must first give up the need to be known. To win the game of wealth, you must stop playing for applause. When your wealth becomes invisible, it becomes untouchable. When your power becomes silent, it becomes absolute. But most people never cross that line. They sell their freedom for fame, their peace for proof, their fortune for followers. They cannot stand the quiet, yet it is in that quiet that true empires are born. So ask yourself tonight, who have you been feeding with your visibility? How many eyes have you paid to watch your ascent? How much wealth have you already lost to the applause that bought you nothing? You might believe you're rising, when in truth, every photo, every boast, every attempt to prove you've made it is another brick removed from the fortress you're supposed to be building. The world is watching, and the more it watches, the weaker your defenses become. Remember the ones who rose too quickly, who mistook admiration for loyalty, who thought fortune could survive exposure. Their names were once shouted, now they are whispered as cautionary tales. Every empire that fell to envy began with a man who couldn't stop shining. What happens when your light burns too bright for your own walls to contain it? What happens when the gold you display becomes the map to your destruction? In the next chapter, you'll see how the truly powerful avoid that fate. By building wealth so quietly, no one can steal what they can't even see. The secret of the invisible rich begins in the quiet hours when no one is watching. Wealth is not born in applause, it is sculpted in solitude. While others measure their progress by what they can show, the unseen elite measure theirs by what they can conceal. They understand that attention is a leak. The more you seek it, the more of your fortune seeps through unseen cracks. To build lasting wealth, you must reverse the modern instinct for exposure. You must become a ghost in your own success, present yet untraceable. This is how invisible foundations are built, through silence, restraint, and discipline disguised as simplicity. Every empire that endures begins with the invisible work the crowd cannot comprehend. The early investor who lives below his means, buying no luxury he cannot multiply tenfold. The builder who eats in the same small diner, long after his profits have tripled. The mind that doesn't need to prove its status to anyone because it is already focused on the next layer of defense. These people do not brag about their income because they understand how fragile fortune is when it becomes spectacle. A fortune that depends on display is a fortune half spent already. They build like masons in the dark, each brick placed with precision, each move protected by secrecy. To master this, you must learn the discipline of invisible accounting, not only in finance but in behavior. Track what you earn, but never broadcast it. Record your progress, but do not announce your milestones. When your business grows, Resist the urge to upgrade your lifestyle as proof. Your goal is quiet expansion. Let your capital grow in shadow. Let the noise of others mask your movement. The invisible rich move through the world like chess players in a room full of gamblers. While others cheer their small wins, you'll be calculating in silence, waiting for the one move that changes the board. Invisible foundations are not about hiding from opportunity, they are about protecting it. When you move in silence, your plans cannot be intercepted, your ambitions cannot be weaponized. No one can attack what they do not know exists. The man who owns nothing publicly but controls everything privately is untouchable. He has no trophies to steal, no status to ruin, no proof to expose. In this structure, the ego dies but the empire lives. Every asset, every connection, every stream of income is hidden behind a wall of ambiguity. To the world he appears moderate. To those who truly look, he is an empire disguised as a whisper. The reason most fail to build invisible foundations is that they are addicted to recognition. They mistake the feeling of being seen for the act of making progress. They spend energy trying to appear successful, unaware that every appearance erodes their leverage. The truly powerful work in the inverse. They act in silence, and when success arrives, it seems to the world as if it appeared out of thin air. That illusion, the sudden rise with no visible origin, is not luck. It is design. It is the reward of years spent cultivating secrecy as strategy. Invisibility amplifies results because no one competes with what they cannot see. To practice this, you must learn to control what you reveal. Your social presence should reflect neutrality, not opulence. Your routines should appear disciplined, not lavish. When you speak of business, speak vaguely. Let others assume you're doing fine, but never give them the blueprint. The invisible rich live by omission. They do not lie, they simply choose silence over explanation. In that silence, mystery grows. And mystery, in the right hands, is worth more than gold. It disarms questions, delays envy, and builds a reputation far stronger than any proof could. Understand this. In the early stages, your greatest enemy is noise. Every confession, every detail shared too early invites sabotage disguised as curiosity. The friend who just wants to know how you did it. The relative who only wants advice, the competitor who admires your courage. These people do not mean harm directly, but they drain the energy that should have gone into construction. The invisible builder shares little, listens more, and protects the sanctity of his progress. To him, words are currency, and every unnecessary word is a withdrawal from his account of power. Invisible foundations also require emotional control. You must train yourself to find satisfaction, not in being praised, but in being underestimated. Let others believe you are ordinary. It gives you the most extraordinary advantage, invisibility. When people think you are harmless, they reveal themselves freely. When they think you are small, they stop watching your moves. That blindness is your weapon. It gives you time, space, and distance to build unobserved. The day they finally realize your reach, it will already be too late for them to catch you. So how does one begin building these hidden layers of strength? It starts with restraint, financial, verbal, digital. You must detach from the need to be perceived. Delete the evidence of your hunger. Buy less, speak less, reveal less. Every act of silence is an investment in power, and in time, that power compounds invisibly. You'll notice something remarkable. The less you show, the more others assume. Their imagination builds your legend, while your reality multiplies behind closed doors. But here lies the danger. Once your silence begins to generate results, temptation returns. The urge to display what you've built becomes stronger than ever. Many fall here. They break their own disguise the moment success becomes tangible, and the moment they do, the predators smell blood. So the question remains, when your wealth starts to grow, how do you expand your reach without ever revealing the size of your hand? In the next chapter, we enter the realm of quiet alliances and unseen power, the art of building a network that operates entirely in silence. Power never grows in isolation. Every fortune, no matter how quiet, is woven through others. But the difference between the loud rich and the invisible rich is this. One builds networks for attention, the other builds networks for control. You must understand that visibility within relationships is vulnerability. The people who boast about who they know are always the weakest in the room because their value depends on association. The silent elite cultivate influence through discretion. They create a circle so private, its power cannot be traced. This is the silent network. Alliances bound by mutual interest, not mutual display. Most people treat relationships as decoration, connections to flaunt at dinners, to tag in photos, to display like trophies. They name drop to climb faster, not realizing that every name spoken aloud dilutes the power of the relationship. The invisible rich know better. They never announce their allies. They understand that the most powerful favors are the ones no one sees being exchanged. Quiet reciprocity, invisible contracts, strategic anonymity, these are the tools of those who endure. When you hear someone bragging about their connections, you can be certain of one thing: they are being used by them. To form a silent network, you must first change your intent. Stop chasing relationships for validation. Instead, identify those who operate in silence themselves, the ones who move money without fanfare, make deals without cameras, and give help without needing thanks. These are your true allies, because they understand the currency of discretion. When you do business with such people, loyalty grows not from sentiment, but from secrecy. Shared silence becomes a covenant. No one outside the room needs to know what was agreed upon, and because of that, no one outside the room can ever undo it. A network like this functions like an underground system, invisible on the surface, yet carrying the lifeblood of empires beneath the world's feet. It thrives on a balance of power and subtlety. Favors are exchanged without invoices. Introductions happen in whispers. Information flows through quiet channels, never leaving fingerprints. Each connection strengthens the next, forming a web of influence that cannot be mapped. The public rich build audiences. The invisible rich build conduits. One seeks applause, the other seeks access. And when crisis comes, only one survives. To build your silent network, you must become a mirror. You must be the person everyone can trust with what they cannot say aloud. This requires discipline. You listen more than you speak. You offer more than you take. You never repeat a word that was told in confidence. Over time, this earns you something priceless: the perception of reliability. When people know you as someone who guards information, they begin giving you more of it, willingly, almost instinctively. You become a vault for secrets, and secrets are the foundation of power. But power cannot exist without restraint. You will be tempted to use what you know to dominate, to threaten, to manipulate. Resist it. The invisible rich understand that information is a tool of leverage, not destruction. Once used carelessly, it loses its value. Once weaponized publicly, it exposes its source. Real influence lies in holding knowledge, not in displaying it. Let others play their games of public exposure. You are building something deeper, a network where every ally owes you quietly, where every connection is a thread you can tighten or loosen without anyone ever seeing your hand. Most fail at this because they cannot endure being unseen. They crave the validation that comes from being known by powerful people. They forget that visibility is not status, it's surveillance. When you flaunt your connections, you make yourself traceable. When you keep them hidden, you become untouchable. A man whose allies are known can be isolated. A man whose allies are invisible can never be cornered. This is how the silent elite survive, even the storms that destroy dynasties. Their defense is not their wealth, but the secrecy of the architecture that sustains it. In this world, favors are the purest currency, but they must be exchanged carefully. Too much generosity invites debt you cannot collect. Too little burns bridges before they form. The invisible network trades in balance. Give value quietly, ask little, and remember who owes you. Keep no written record, but never forget, your memory must become your ledger. The best kind of power is not the one that demands repayment, but the one that makes repayment inevitable. When your allies benefit from your silence, they protect it with their own. And yet, the true danger of the silent network lies not outside it, but within. The more it grows, the more you must control access. Every connection you add multiplies both your strength and your risk. A single careless link can expose the entire chain. That is why the invisible rich curate ruthlessly. They would rather have 5 trusted allies than 50 acquaintances. Every person who enters your circle should add invisibility, not noise. Your network should be like a shadow, dense, cohesive, and vanishing when the light turns toward it. So when the time comes to make your next move, ask yourself, who in your life multiplies your discretion and who leaks it away? Which relationships make you harder to find, and which make you easier to reach? The answer to those questions determines your true net worth. For wealth without protection is theater, and connection without secrecy is suicide. In the next part, you will learn the second layer of invisibility, not in who you know, but in what you let them see. How perception itself can be engineered, and how absence can become the most powerful form of presence you will ever wield. Power, when seen, becomes diluted. The moment people can measure you, they begin to define you. And once they define you, they begin to control you. This is why the invisible rich master, not only what they build, but what they allow others to perceive. They understand that reputation is not truth, it is theater. And in that theater, the most powerful role you can play is absence. When you control your visibility, you control the imagination of others. And imagination, when properly directed, is worth more than any display of proof. This is the hidden brand, the art of shaping perception by omission. Most people misunderstand branding. They think it means exposure, constant visibility, the endless declaration of self. They flood every platform with evidence of their existence, unaware that overexposure breeds familiarity, and familiarity kills respect. The more you show, the less they value you. The more you explain, the less they believe. The hidden brand is built on the opposite principle. Let them see only what strengthens your myth, and starve them of everything else. Secrecy is not concealment, it's curation. You choose what the world can interpret, then you let their curiosity do the rest. When your presence is rare, it becomes valuable. When your words are few, they become remembered. This is how the invisible rich build magnetic authority without ever stepping into the spotlight. They do not chase relevance. They make people chase clarity. When they speak, it feels deliberate, because it is. Every silence before and after their words gives weight to their message. Their scarcity becomes their brand. In a society addicted to visibility, mystery becomes luxury. That is why true power never explains itself. It only allows others to interpret its shadow. Think of the great strategists, the reclusive founders, the discreet billionaires who seem to vanish for years only to reappear with empires no one saw forming. Their value is multiplied, not by what they say, but by what they withhold. Their absence fuels speculation, and speculation, when sustained, creates myth. People respect what they cannot fully see, because mystery triggers a primal instinct, the fear of what might be greater than us. To be feared subtly is to be respected perpetually. The hidden brand does not need followers, it needs believers. To build this, you must learn how to disappear correctly. Silence is not enough. It must be strategic. You must remove noise, not presence. Stay visible in structure, invisible in essence. Let them see your work, but never your process. Let them hear your name, but rarely your voice. Appear briefly, leave impressions deeply. The fewer appearances you make, the more each one is remembered. Every re-entry should feel like an event, every silence like a decision. This rhythm, reveal, retreat, remain, is how influence grows without exposure. But you must resist one of humanity's oldest weaknesses, the hunger for acknowledgement. The temptation to prove yourself, to correct misunderstandings, to explain your motives. These are traps for the ego. The invisible rich understand that being misunderstood is a shield, not a wound. Let them underestimate you, it keeps you unguarded. Let them mislabel you, it keeps you unpredictable. The need to be seen clearly is the need of the powerless. The strong are content to be a rumor. When you cease defending your image begins defending you. The architecture of a hidden brand is built on contrast. Give just enough light for others to sense depth, but never enough to see the bottom. Reveal strength without context, success without process, calm without confession. Make people wonder where your power comes from. Mystery forces respect because it removes the option of casual judgment. You become a puzzle the mind can't solve, and what the mind can't solve, it reveres. Your silence becomes their speculation. Your minimalism becomes their fascination. They will fill the void of your absence with stories far grander than your truth, and that illusion serves you better than any explanation ever could. You must also learn to separate authenticity from transparency. The world preaches openness as virtue, but transparency is exposure disguised as trust. The more they see, the less you own. The hidden brand is authentic but guarded. You show emotion selectively. You reveal humanity, but only where it enhances your authority. Never let them see exhaustion, uncertainty, or excess. Let them feel your focus. Let them perceive calm as a natural state. Invisibility is not about being fake. It's about protecting what is real from the corrosion of public opinion. When you control perception, you weaponize curiosity. Competitors cannot strike what they cannot locate. Critics cannot argue with what you never confirm. Investors, followers, and allies begin to attach their own aspirations to your image. You become a mirror reflecting their ambitions, not your own. And that is the greatest form of brand control, not to impose meaning, but to become a vessel for it. The hidden brand wins not because it's loud, but because it's inevitable. It becomes the unspoken standard others compare themselves to. So understand this: being visible makes you memorable. Being mysterious makes you immortal. The invisible rich build their legend through selective revelation, a controlled scarcity of presence that transforms every whisper into promotion. You do not need to dominate the conversation. You only need to haunt it. And yet, a greater art lies ahead, not just controlling how you are seen, but where you are seen and under what light. For even the most hidden brand must operate in a world that trades in surveillance. How then do you negotiate and maneuver when every deal risks exposure? How do you move capital and power through channels no one can trace? In the next part, we enter the dark corridors of discretion, where silence becomes negotiation and shadow becomes currency. In the world of power, every deal is a battlefield, and every word you speak is a weapon that can be traced back to you. The invisible rich do not walk into war with banners waving. They negotiate in the dark. They understand that exposure destroys leverage, and the one who speaks first always bleeds first. To master wealth, you must learn to operate in the shadows, not through deceit, but through discretion. The loud negotiator may win applause, but the silent one wins ownership. This is the law of shadow deals, where silence becomes the strongest language and anonymity the highest armor. When you watch the public rich announce partnerships, investments, or acquisitions, you are not witnessing strategy, you are witnessing vulnerability. Every revelation invites scrutiny. Every headline becomes a target painted on their back. The invisible rich, by contrast, make their moves through unseen channels. They structure agreements through intermediaries, hold assets through layers of quiet ownership, and negotiate terms that no public eye will ever trace. They do not compete in open arenas. They manipulate the arena itself. Their power is not that they win arguments, it's that no one knows they were ever in one. A shadow deal begins with observation. The invisible player listens longer than anyone else in the room. He lets others expose their needs, their insecurities, their desperation. Every pause he makes is a mirror. People fill it with confession. While others rush to impress, he remains still, letting the silence corrode their composure. By the time he speaks, the deal has already been won. Silence is not absence, it's pressure. It forces the impatient to reveal themselves. Learn this, and you will no longer need to argue. Your quiet will do the work for you. But discretion is not just in speech, it is in structure. The invisible rich know that how you hold wealth is often more powerful than how much you hold. They design ownership like a labyrinth, not to deceive, but to protect. They understand that the more people can trace your assets, the more control they have over you. Laws, lawsuits, and envy thrive on exposure. The wise man builds invisible walls of legitimacy, trusts, entities, layered holdings, silent partnerships. Each layer creates distance between your name and your wealth. To the world, you own little. In truth, you command everything. The danger lies in the instinct to display negotiation as achievement. People love to announce deals because it feeds their ego. They want validation, acknowledgement, proof of movement. But every declaration is a leak. It invites competitors to replicate, regulators to monitor, and opportunists to infiltrate. The invisible rich move differently. They announce nothing, execute quietly, and let outcomes speak when necessary. By the time others realize what happened, the structure is already immovable. Secrecy multiplies the effectiveness of every decision. A public move creates response. A hidden one creates destiny. Understand this truth. Negotiation is not persuasion, it is concealment. You win not by convincing others you are right, but by never letting them see your real aim. The best negotiator never lies. He simply tells partial truths arranged to mislead conclusions. He shows fragments of the picture, never the frame. The invisible dealmaker operates like a sculptor behind a curtain. All anyone sees is the finished statue, never the chisel. The fewer people know how you think, the harder it becomes to manipulate you. Every withheld detail is a shield. Every vague answer is a fortress. Discretion also extends to your emotional tone. The visible man negotiates with excitement, with pride, with urgency, all signals of weakness. The invisible one moves like a ghost, calm, unprovoked, unreactive. When you appear to need nothing, everything gravitates toward you. The key to power is detachment. The less you display desire, the more others feel it. They will begin offering terms just to win your approval. In this inversion of need, you create a magnetic field of control. The invisible rich never chase, they wait, and in their stillness, everything valuable comes closer. But even silence can be misused. Those who attempt discretion without discipline become paranoid, inconsistent, and eventually isolated. The invisible deal maker must remain composed even in secrecy. He does not vanish, he blends. He does not withdraw, he redirects. The goal is not to escape the system, but to master it invisibly. Every negotiation, every structure, every movement must appear ordinary on the surface, but serve extraordinary ends beneath it. True discretion is not the absence of attention, it's the ability to absorb it without consequence. You must also understand the moral balance of shadow deals. This is not about evasion or deceit. It's about protection from envy, theft, and instability. The invisible rich obey the law, but they never play by its surface logic. They use the same rules others ignore and bend them through precision. They exploit no one, yet they owe no one transparency. In a world where everyone wants a share of your success, discretion becomes survival. It is the thin line that separates security from exposure, freedom from servitude. And yet, even those who master discretion face the same paradox. As power grows, so does visibility. The richer you become, the harder it is to remain unseen. Cameras follow you, records trace you, the walls begin to close. So how do the invisible elite maintain their silence once the light finds them? How do they build public identities that protect their private empires? That is where the art evolves, from negotiation to disguise. In the next part, you will learn the creation of the masked persona, how the truly powerful appear harmless while holding the strings of entire kingdoms. The more powerful you become, the more dangerous it is to appear powerful. When people sense your advantage, they begin plotting its end. This is why the invisible rich wear masks, not of deceit, but of protection. They cultivate public humility while privately constructing empires. They understand that to appear unthreatening is to move freely. Power wrapped in modesty is invisible to the envious, disarming to the ambitious, and tolerated by the foolish. The masked persona is not a performance, it is armor. It allows the wise to walk among wolves without ever being bitten. Consider how the truly powerful present themselves. They never dominate the room with noise, they control it through restraint. Their words are few, their tone disarming, their image intentionally unimpressive. To the world, they look like modest men and women, approachable, even forgettable. But beneath that facade lies calculation. The mask is not weakness, it's strategy. It lowers the guard of those who would otherwise attack. It makes allies underestimate your reach, and it ensures that when you strike, no one saw it coming. The rich who flaunt their power draw predators. The rich who conceal it draw opportunity. To build your mask, you must first abandon vanity. Vanity is the death of stealth. The need to be admired will make you visible in all the wrong ways. The invisible rich treat attention as poison to be handled carefully, in small doses, and only when necessary. They let others perform the spectacle of confidence while they master the subtler art of detachment. You will notice this pattern among the old money, the seasoned investor, the quiet magnate. They never brag, they never react, they never chase validation. Their silence unnerves the insecure, because silence signals control. The masked persona operates on inversion. You project less power than you possess, less wealth than you command, less knowledge than you own. The ignorant crave to be seen as wise. The wise crave to be underestimated. Underestimation is a shield. It gives you room to maneuver. When others think you're simple, they speak freely. When they think you're harmless, they expose their ambitions. When they think you're broke, they never compete. The most strategic men in history understood this principle, invisibility through humility. Julius Caesar entered Rome as a humble servant of the people. By the time they realized he was emperor, he already was. You must also learn the art of selective incompetence, the deliberate act of seeming less capable than you are. Pretend not to know the details while observing everything. Ask questions whose answers you already hold, and watch how people reveal themselves in their eagerness to teach you. Power is not in knowing, it's in knowing silently. The invisible rich let others feel superior, because superiority makes people predictable. The arrogant underestimate what they don't fear, and what they underestimate they cannot defend against. To be thought small is to gain space. To be thought harmless is to gain safety. The mask is most effective when it blends truth with illusion. You must never fake what can be proven false. You must only exaggerate what is already plausible. If your wealth is growing, appear to be merely surviving. If your influence is spreading, appear to be merely respected. If your ambitions expand, appear to be merely curious. The trick is not to hide your success, but to disguise it as ordinary. When greatness is cloaked in normalcy, it becomes invisible. The public will step aside for arrogance, but they will open doors for humility. The latter conquers quietly. To perfect the mask, control your emotional display. Anger, pride, and excitement are all forms of exposure. They show where your buttons are, where you can be manipulated. The invisible rich show nothing. Their demeanor is constant. In victory or defeat, they remain unchanged. That calmness terrifies people, because unpredictability breeds fear. They can't tell when you're winning or losing, when you're bluffing or certain, and so they tread carefully. Emotional neutrality is not repression, it's dominance. It means the world reacts to you while you react to nothing. Remember, the crowd always attacks what it envies, never what it pities. If you want peace, invite underestimation. Let them mock your simplicity. It blinds them to your construction. Let them see a quiet worker, not a builder of dynasties. People forgive weakness, but never forgive superiority. That is why the visible rich die defending their status, while the invisible rich inherit everything they left behind. Your goal is not to be admired, it is to be forgotten. Only in being forgotten can you build freely. The greatest builders in history knew this. Obscurity is sanctuary. But there is one risk to the mask. To wear it too long is to forget the face beneath it. Many who rise in silence become trapped in their own disguise. They mistake invisibility for detachment and end up isolated, paranoid, mechanical. You must never let your mask consume you. Use it as a shield, not a shell. Step into humility by choice, not fear. The masked persona is not about hiding from the world, it's about mastering how the world sees you. Control perception, and you control reaction. Control reaction, and you control everything. Yet even the perfect mask cannot protect forever. As wealth compounds and power expands, your existence becomes harder to disguise. Public institutions begin to notice. Laws shift around you. The light grows sharper. At this stage, invisibility requires a new form of protection, not psychological, but structural. In the next part, you will learn how the invisible rich turn legality itself into armor, and why the wisest empires are built on paper walls stronger than steel. Every empire eventually reaches the same crossroad, the moment when power can no longer hide behind silence alone. What you've built begins to echo. The whispers grow into rumors. The world starts asking questions. And yet, if you've mastered the laws of invisibility, those questions lead nowhere. Every answer they find is a decoy, every trail a dead end. You no longer exist as a person, you exist as structure, as shadow, as myth. That is the ultimate victory of the invisible rich, to hold everything while appearing to hold nothing. Understand this. Wealth is not the accumulation of things, but of control. To control perception is to control access. To control access is to control reality. And reality itself bends to those who can operate without needing to be seen. The loud inherit applause. The quiet inherit the world. The rich who flaunt their status are prisoners of it. The rich who conceal it are free. The goal is not to rise above others, it is to rise beyond detection, because only what can be seen can be destroyed. In time, you'll see how this philosophy bleeds into every corner of life. Your movements become deliberate, your words sharpen, your presence softens. You begin to live by rhythm, not reaction. You stop chasing recognition and start building influence that no one can trace. You learn that true wealth isn't luxury, it's leverage. It's the ability to move unseen, to decide outcomes without entering the stage, to make the world turn without ever touching the wheel. Those who live loudly are remembered briefly. Those who live silently are remembered as forces. The kings of noise fade with their followers. The architects of silence outlast centuries. That is why the greatest power is not fame. It is anonymity. It is the ability to walk among men who suspect nothing, even as their fortunes orbit the decisions you make. So retreat from spectacle. Withdraw from the endless need to prove. Let your wealth be your echo, not your broadcast. Let your name disappear while your influence multiplies. Become the shadow that holds the light in place. For in the end, history belongs not to those who were seen, but to those who moved unseen and left no fingerprints on the world they quietly ruled.